New Zealand First Leader Winston Peters has not long begun his third stint as Foreign Affairs Minister. He joins me to talk about the foreign policy challenges facing New Zealand. Look, is it fair to say that even in the 3 years since you were last Foreign Minister, the world has become a more dangerous, uncertain place?
There's no doubt about that. And you'll find that acknowledged by most countries around the world, that there is a new sense of tension and a new sense of risk or potential danger, much more acute now than it's been for some time.
So what does that mean for New Zealand's foreign policy?
Well, it means that we should have our eyes wide open and try and see around the next corner, the next bend after that in our preparation, and not be caught unawares by lack of having done the research and sharing information that we critically need to make wise decisions going forward.
So does that mean closer engagement with who we would consider our traditional friends?
Our traditional friends and our new friends, and then ensuring that the best, I know it sounds sort of slightly like espionage, but the best intelligence is legitimately needed for us to make the best decisions we can possibly make alongside allies and friends.
So that means, Five Eyes and sharing information, a lot more involvement there?
Yeah, and it could mean other countries as well, who are beginning to see that our mutually sharing needed information is of value to them and us, and indeed is better able to guarantee security going forward. Because most threats can be, how shall I say, beaten off with preparation. A lack of preparation usually invites the threat to go into a much more risky situation.
I mean, one of the tensions obviously has been in the Asia-Pacific region, but China and the United States. And I guess there has been a sense previously that New Zealand could play a role at almost, if you like, mediating between it. Do you see that as a potential role to...
Well, it sounds glamorous, it sounds romantic, but it is actually devoid of any reality. How could a small country like ours play that critical so-called mediating role, other than to be part of many, many countries with similar values, similar sense of freedom and democracy, ensuring that our voice collectively plays the role we're talking about. I've heard it so often that we could be doing this, we could be doing that, but it doesn't bear a close examination when they say that, because the next question you've got to ask yourself is, yes, but why would they have to listen? But numbers mean strength, and then they might listen, and that's what we advocate.
And that's through a multilateral approach then?
Yes, that's right. We seriously believe in multilateralism, and we've done our best over a long period of time, and even across party political lines, to try and strengthen our engagement in the multilateral voice and the strength and power and might of the multilateral voice.
But I guess we look at situations like Ukraine, Gaza, multilateral, I guess the United Nations involvement seems to always fall well short of being able to resolve those.
Well, you might say that, but how shall I say it? We've had since 2005 peace in Gaza. Then all of a sudden there is this murderous raid costing 1,200 people's lives. People turned to captives and made prisoner. And then the aftermath of that has required us to look at the fallout of enormous death occasioned by that event, and trying to then use our international influence to bring it to a ceasefire, but hopefully not just trying to stop there, looking forward to a two-state solution. And the sooner we can get that in place as a viable long-term practical outcome, the better.
The current Israeli government, though, seems opposed to that, doesn't it?
Well, the reality is that the current Israeli government and its people were the original victims of a planned murderous attack. And the rest of the world is now commenting on how they've reacted. And that comment is not without integrity when you consider the level of innocent lives being lost. And so that might be the view of the Israeli government, but then though that government has friends and other allies who are all starting and are coming to the same conclusion as we are, that we understand, but we cannot condone the continuous loss of life. Let's make it a possibility to have a end of the fighting and the beginnings of a tangible, viable, enduring two-state solution, which is the policy we started off with. And here we are, all these thousands of kilometres away, still trying to help out and make our contribution towards a peaceful outcome as soon as possible.
But what influence, as you say, can we really have on that situation?
Everybody needs friends in the end, and those countries that go alone, and you've seen it in the case of Russia as we speak, are now trying to stretch and get more friends as soon as and fast as they can. And things are tipping on a knife edge as to whether, this war is going to go on, because the longer it goes on, contrary to what some people think, I think the less that the Russians are going to succeed here. But this is a long way from 2014, when they launched the attack on Crimea. Here we are, all these years on, and because no one acted back then, they were emboldened to go ahead with what happened, not just in Ukraine, but elsewhere.
So does the West have to stand firm in support of Ukraine?
Well, the West was asleep when it first happened. Strange that, because it has a historic parallel going back hundreds of years.
Look, talking about multilateralism, in a recent speech, you talked too about trade and I guess multilateralism and ensuring that trade avenues remained open in New Zealand, but also you did comment, as others have, that there seems to be a move against trade liberalisation around the world. I mean, how crucial is that to New Zealand's future?
Well, ever since the 1882 export of mutton cargo on the Dunedin to an offshore country, we've been an economy very dependent upon exports. And riding alongside that is the century-old concern of the instability of a dependent economy, dependent upon exports. And too many politicians in the last 40 years just lost the plot, missed what they were dealing with, didn't understand that to keep our trading as diverse as possible, making us not dependent on any one market, should have been a critical factor when the end of the EU's engagement, the end of the British engagement and joining the EU was a threat to us. They're left now, but you cannot say that we've, like some countries, made the preparations we should have a long, long time ago to widen as fast as possible and make it a priority our international markets. Singapore has 2.5 more times of people in the field, so has Ireland. Countries like Croatia, with only 3.5 million people, have probably 60% more people in the field than we've got. They understand the instability of a dependent economy where exports are important. And yet we here, and sadly, alas, it's been something not where I can criticise the media, but so many New Zealand voters don't think that foreign policy matters, don't realise the connection between trade, foreign affairs and trade, and offshore connections facilitated by this important part of our bureaucracy needs greater investment. I found politicians where you've gone to ministers of finance trying to persuade them, look, do you really want to get an outcome that other countries have got, where their per capita incomes are $15,000, $10,000, $25,000 per capita better than ours, all based on one outcome, the GDP performance, trade and productivity. And we have struggled working the second longest hours to the OECD, but with what I believe is a lack of vision, foresight and planning to take us where we used to be when a different group of politicians understood what they were doing because they were practical, and when we were number 2 or 3 in the world.
I mean, I think there was veiled criticism of the previous government that it let things slide in terms of
It's not veiled criticism. If the media were really doing their job, they saw immense neglect happening right under their face, a lack of visitations, a lack of seeing these people. Go and have a look at the calendar of the people who should have been doing this, and pray tell me what was not going on and why didn't we know about it?
So you'll be out in the world a lot more than
Well, we've hit the
previous
ground
minister?
running. You know, we've talked to countless of my, well, I talked to 15 of my counterparts. I've seen 5 countries, 6 countries leaders, including a foreign minister as well. I've seen the Pacific Island Forum already. And I'm not boasting, but we really got to understand that a nation like ours has got to play its role seriously, and the great benefits are if you play a role seriously and it has a trade connection with it, then we'll be far more profitable. Maybe our neighbourhood will be far more safe. We can help. There's a lot of respect for us out there, but we can't stay home on our laurels. Not sit on our laurels, just stay home and not do anything.
Winston Peters, thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.